Hey guys, tonight we dive into a snowy December evening, just as the frost glistens on the tips of your car's windshield and your breath fogs up the air like a whisper of steam. You pull up to your childhood home, red sweater on, cheery and safe, like a holiday card from the 90s. There's laughter spilling out the windows, fairy lights blinking like they've been doing it since you were 10. Your hands are steady, but inside, you already know something's off. You've got that feeling. That sixth sense of, not this again. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk in with a smile so rehearsed it could win awards. The family greets you, half hugs, forced grins, the usual "you've lost weight" from Aunt Teresa, who says that to everyone. You smell nutmeg and turkey, a chorus of holiday warmth. You settle into the same seat as always. That's the thing about family events. Your place is assigned, physically and emotionally. And there it is, your sister, glowing with new engagement jewelry. Your cousin, opening a gift bag with a drone. Even the dog gets a new monogrammed blanket. But as the pile of wrapping paper grows smaller, you realize something. No one hands you anything. Not a card. Not a joke gift. Nada. Just that old smile from your mom across the table. The one that says, "Don't make a scene." Historians still argue whether Saturnalia gift-giving rituals inspired modern Christmas traditions. But even the Romans would raise an eyebrow at this setup. You blink once, twice, then glance around the room, still hoping, naively, that someone's about to say, "Oh wait, there's one more under the tree." But nope. The last gift's been opened. The torn-up paper, now a battlefield of holiday cheer and crushed expectations. You push a polite laugh through your throat because that's what you've always done. Keep it cute. Keep it quiet. You sip the lukewarm cider someone handed you earlier. Clove and disappointment. You've never wanted a gift. Not really. You've always been the one giving. Baking the cookies. Buying the extra stocking stuffers. Flying in early just to help set the table. The kind of person who knows everyone's favorite pie filling and makes sure it's there. And tonight, you get invisible. You lean back in your chair, eyes flicking from the twinkling tree to the fire crackling in the hearth. Did you know the first artificial Christmas trees were made of dyed goose feathers in 19th century Germany? True story. A prickly solution to deforestation and pine sap allergies. You wish someone in this room would have adopted even a fraction of that innovative spirit. But instead, your brother brags about his new espresso machine. Your uncle shows off Bluetooth slippers. And still, no one notices your empty hands. Historians still debate whether the giving of gifts was ever truly altruistic, or just a symbolic exchange of power and inclusion. Tonight, it feels like exclusion, loud, wrapped in ribbon. You nod along, smiling with your mouth but not your eyes. That's the trick, right? You've mastered it, but underneath it all, something begins to stir. Not sadness, exactly. No, it's sharper, hungrier. Like the quiet snap of a wishbone before someone calls dibs. You excuse yourself to the kitchen, letting the laughter dim behind you. Your footsteps echo against the tile as you lean against the counter, hands gripping its edge like it might keep you upright. That's the thing about moments like this. Your body registers the betrayal before your mind catches up. You feel it in your spine, your teeth. Like stepping into a room and knowing someone's been talking about you. You exhale, long and slow. Through the window, soft snow starts to fall, blanketing the backyard where you built snow forts as a kid. You remember the year your dad helped you shape a perfect igloo dome. He called it an architectural marvel. That same man just gave your cousin an all-expenses-paid cruise, and you got the role of ghost. You pick up a dish towel and start folding it. Just something to do with your hands. You know that in ancient Rome, Saturnalia was the chaotic predecessor to Christmas, filled with feasts, role reversals, and gift-giving. But even in Saturnalia, the forgotten ones eventually got their turn. You're not boiling yet. No. But the simmer has started. A voice behind you interrupts your thoughts. It's your mother, asking you to grab more wine from the garage. Not a word about the gifts. Not even a glance. Just another errand. You nod. Of course. That's what you do, right? Historians still argue whether emotional labor can be quantified. But if it could, your tab would stretch back decades. You're the family glue, the filler of gaps. But tonight, that glue's cracking, and you feel it with every step toward that garage door. Past the photos on the wall, past the framed memories they treasure, none of which feature you in the center. The garage is cold and dimly lit, smelling faintly of old paint cans and last summer's forgotten ambition. You flip the switch, grab the bottle your mom requested, and stand still for a moment, just listening. Not to the party. Those voices are muffled now, but to something else. That low thrum inside your chest, like the opening hum of a war drum. You hold the bottle up to the light. Imported. Expensive. You recognize it instantly. You sent them this exact label last Christmas from your favorite vineyard in Napa, a quiet thank you for raising you, for tolerating your distance. You'd been too busy building your empire after all. You'd thought that gift might earn you a flicker of warmth, a memory, maybe even pride. But here it is, waiting to be poured for someone else. You smile. It's not a warm smile. It's the kind you get when you realize the punchline of a joke is you. Historians still argue whether the concept of filial duty, especially in Eastern cultures, is outdated or sacred. You've tried to honor it. Holidays, birthdays, silent contributions to that roof over their heads. For years. And yet here you are, holding a bottle you bought, forgotten in a freezer of feelings. A thought slips into your mind, sharp and clear. What if you weren't the family doormat anymore? You step back into the house, this time not to fade into the background. The air is louder now, heavier, like the room senses the shift in your posture. You glance around at the people who share your blood, but none of your effort. One cousin is loudly bragging about a tech startup, one you quietly invested in early. They don't even know. Quirky historical tidbit? In 17th century England, Christmas dinners often ended with people throwing food. Sometimes in good humor, sometimes not. Tonight, you're not throwing food. You're just waiting. You slide back into your seat with the wine bottle in hand, placing it gently next to the roasted ham like you're offering tribute to the gods of polite conversation. Your mother gives you a quick nod, more out of habit than gratitude, and your father barely glances up. The party resumes as if you hadn't left. You blend back in like wallpaper. And maybe that's the role you've always been expected to play. The gift-giving starts without ceremony. Your uncle clears his throat and reaches under the table for the first box. It's wrapped in red foil and topped with an elaborate gold bow. You recognize your sister's meticulous wrapping style immediately. She loves presentation. Everything is curated, except apparently her morals. They begin handing out presents clockwise. Your name isn't called. You sip your water. Next, your cousin Jake gets a new iPad. Your aunt beams as if she personally coded the software. Laughter bubbles around the table. Compliments fly. You nod along. Still no name. A part of you starts to feel it. The warmth rising into your cheeks. The slow realization that something's off. Again, you've been skipped before. As a kid, it was forgotten birthday cards. As a teenager, it was the hand-me-downs. You're independent, they'd say. You don't need as much. Apparently, being responsible is a disqualification for kindness. Mainstream historical fact? Ancient Romans celebrated Saturnalia, a winter festival of gifts and social role reversals. Even slaves were temporarily treated as equals. You chuckle internally. Funny how 2,000 years ago, things made more sense. Someone slides a small box toward your sister. Inside is a diamond pendant from your parents. She gasps dramatically, kissing her husband as if he'd picked it himself. Your mother tears up. You glance down at your empty hands and smile tightly. Historians still argue whether birth order plays a role in parental favoritism, or if it's just human bias wrapped in holiday ribbon. You take another sip, and wait. You count the gifts like stars on a cold night. Too many to name, none for you. Wrapping paper crinkles. Thank you hugs float like confetti around the table. And you? You're clapping politely, nodding as if this silent omission isn't crawling up your spine. No one says your name, not once. Your father stands to make a toast, an annual tradition. Glass held high, voice trembling just enough to seem heartfelt. He thanks the family for being together. Thanks your sister for bringing joy into the house again. He even thanks her husband. That walking resume of arrogance. You're the son I never had, your father says as your own name goes unspoken. Your mouth is dry. Not from the wine. From absence. From erasure. You were there, weren't you? You paid the mortgage when they lost everything. 7 years. Every month. On time. You were there, standing in their doorway with frozen pizza when they couldn't afford groceries. You were there when your sister was gallivanting across Europe and posting filtered sunsets while you quietly held the family together with dental floss and grit. And tonight, you're invisible, not out of spite, worse, out of habit. Historically speaking, the medieval practice of primogeniture gave the firstborn male everything: title, land, wealth. But when you're the eldest daughter, you're the unpaid intern of the family tree. Someone passes the gravy. No eye contact. A quirky tidbit floats into your mind, uninvited. In Iceland, books are traditionally given as gifts on Christmas Eve, and everyone reads quietly into the night. You fantasize about being there, about silence being a choice. Historians still argue whether the pain of family neglect outweighs that of external betrayal. You're starting to suspect the former cuts deeper, because you never saw it coming. You sit up straighter. You say nothing. But something inside you, finally, cracks open. You sip your wine like it's armor, though the glass trembles just a little in your hand. The laughter around the table warps, suddenly distant, like you're underwater watching everyone else breathe. You stare into your untouched plate and wonder if they even notice you're still seated. Then your sister's voice cuts through the noise. "Oh, we almost forgot," she chirps, eyes wide with the same faux innocence she wore when she accidentally crashed your first car. Her husband, the charmer with the spray-on charisma, reaches beneath the table and lifts a large velvet-covered box onto the table with a magician's flourish. It lands with a thunk, and your mother gasps. "We wanted to save the best for last," he says dramatically. Your parents beam. "This," he continues, pulling back the cloth, "is your new deed. A deed. To your childhood home. The house you paid for. The roof you kept over their heads." Your father takes the document reverently, hands shaking, not from age, but emotion, and passes it to your sister's husband. "It's all yours now," he says. No one looks at you. You freeze. Inside, the scream is deafening. But you only nod. The betrayal hits like Pompeii, silent ash burying everything you thought you understood. Historically, property transfers within families were common in feudal societies, often solidifying alliances or settling disputes. But no history class prepares you for the moment your life's work is handed to a man who once asked if you actually liked working. Here's a weird fact. Some ancient cultures believed the soul resided in the liver. In that moment, yours feels punctured. You inhale once, hold it, and exhale so slowly you nearly forget how to breathe. Historians still argue whether family betrayal is inevitable or simply a matter of time. You glance at your watch. Your empire isn't here, but it's waiting. Not abruptly, not dramatically. You just rise. Chair legs scrape softly against hardwood, barely noticed under the clamor of champagne corks, and congratulations. No one stops you. They're too busy fawning over a deed that cost you 7 years and most of your 20s. Your coat is still by the door because something in you knew not to settle in. You slip it on without a word. The wind outside bites, but it's cleaner than the air you're leaving behind. You walk to your car, parked inconveniently far because your sister's husband needed the driveway clear. Still, each footstep across the frosted pavement feels like recovery. Like ritual. As you drive away, the lights from the house fade in the rear view. That house, they can keep it. What they don't know is that you left behind a facade, not a foundation. The real empire? That started the moment you realized your love would never be enough for people who only see you as useful. The empire started when you built your first company on 2 folding chairs and a Wi-Fi signal stolen from a cafe downstairs. You made silent deals under the din of espresso machines. You launched a startup from your phone at 2 a.m. while your parents asked when you'd get a real job. Here's a quirky tidbit. The first vending machine ever created dispensed holy water in ancient Egypt. It operated on a lever and weight system. It was quiet, precise, underestimated. Just like you. Historians still argue whether entrepreneurs are born or forged in fire. You're not sure. But you do know that betrayal is excellent kindling. Back home, your empire glows in code and equity and a team that knows your worth. It's not wrapped in bows or placed under a tree, but it's yours. The next morning, there's frost on the window panes and clarity in your veins. You wake in silk sheets, not as a prince, but as someone who fought their way out of exile with nothing but grit and Google Sheets. While the rest of the family likely gathers again for mimosas and shallow apologies, you're brewing your own coffee, beans ground from a supplier you invested in last quarter. You sip, scroll, and check your earnings, which now grow faster than your mother's excuses. You think back to a time in history when empires were built on land, gold, and conquest. Today, it's data, vision, and resilience. Genghis Khan once said, "Conquering the world on horseback is easy. Dismounting and governing is hard." He also reportedly loved milk tea and had over 500 wives. But that's beside the point. Your own empire hums along without your constant presence. That's power. That's peace. Notifications pile in. Another retail contract approved. Your software acquired by a firm in Sweden. A non-profit you fund tagged you in a thank you post. None of these people know about the Christmas fiasco. That moment already feels like a weird dream. And yet, there's something poetic about it, isn't there? Historians still argue whether the Roman Empire fell because of outside invaders or internal decay. Your family might have handed you your fall, but you turned it into a flight, a launch, an ascension. You're not bitter. You're not even angry anymore. You're free. Which is why, when your phone buzzes again, this time with a message from your mom, a single line that reads, "Can we talk?" You pause, but don't reply, because empires don't answer to those who gave away the keys to the gate. The evening stretches out like a long, quiet river as you sit by your cabin's fireplace. The wood crackles softly, throwing warm shadows across the walls lined with memories you've chosen to keep. Outside, the stars glitter in a way that feels almost conspiratorial, like they're in on your secret triumph. You light a candle, the soft flicker easing the edge of the day's tension. It reminds you of a medieval practice. People believed that candles could ward off evil spirits during the darkest nights. Maybe tonight, the flame guards your peace. You pour yourself a glass of something smooth, the kind that tastes like hard-won patience and silent victories. Tonight isn't about grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. It's about quiet strength. You think of Christmas dinners past, where laughter was often laced with judgment, and gifts were weighed in unspoken currency. There was a time when you believed family was a guarantee. Now you know it's a choice. Historians still argue whether the Victorian era's strict social rituals helped or hindered human connection. Your own family's drama feels like an echo of those old rigid rules, breaking down in unexpected ways. You let out a soft sigh, the kind that carries both relief and a touch of sorrow. But most of all, gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to rewrite your story, to build a legacy that no one can take away. As the fire dies down to glowing embers, you lean back and close your eyes. You've traveled through betrayal, heartbreak, and renewal. And now, in the quiet warmth of your cabin, you rest knowing you've won in the way that truly matters.